All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the TIP annual conference. So this is the last session for today. Boom! It's been one after the other, back to back, amazing session, and the last session with Chini was just Fina Chichi was just amazing. As a parent who is into purpose, she totally blew me away. All right, great. So this is the last session, and we will be introducing our guests very soon. In this session, we'll be talking about how to parenting the 21st century compliant child. All right, so this is July, that time in the Intentional Parent Academy where we give back. And a good way to make sure that you're having an amazing time and not just taking tips and hacks is to join the inner circle. By now, I'm sure you've heard of the inner circle back to back. I mean, because I am in there, I can tell you it is an experience that is beyond anything that you know. So we'll be having testimonials or reviews from people who are already in that circle, and they'll be telling you what you are missing if you don't get in there in 2022. All right, so we're going to have a brief review from one of the inner circle parents in the next few seconds. Thank you and welcome. Get ready.
Our names are Engineer and Mrs. Smart Peter Sevreke. Our journey so far in Inner Circle. It all started last year, 2020, by second half of the year, when my wife introduced me to the group. Inner Circle is the arm of the Intentional Parent Academy, founded by Coach Wendy Ologe. Here, parents are gathered to learn parenting styles and skills through daily connection tools. Views on parenting are shared by other parents as well. Books on parenting read and reviewed on monthly basis. Inner Circle has taught us that parenting is about us, the parents, and not the children. We've learned new parenting trend and unlearn what we used to know as parenting pattern, which is not working for the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas. So I am urging you, and I mean you that is watching now, to come. Let's join hands together for the good of our children and society at large. Thank you.
Wow, amazing review there. And I love it when these reviews come from men, because usually in parenting group we're used to having women. Now that's a man, so you know we're not joking in the inner circle. All right, so we'll be introducing our guest, and we will have his profile up before he comes on stage. So hang in there and get ready for a mind-blowing session. Thank you.
He holds a first degree in industrial chemistry from the University of Ilorin, Kwara State, and a postgraduate diploma in education from the University of Lagos, Nigeria, where he is currently running his master's degree program in guidance and counseling. He is the chief executive at UNCLE OPE Global Concepts and the co-founder of Student Success Center, a study and coaching center in Lagos, Nigeria, committed to raising excellent students who will break barriers in all frontiers in their spheres of influence. He is committed to promoting child and youth development in Africa. Recently, he founded Teens Leadership Institute, a premier research body for developing dynamic, innovative, and principled leaders who will set the pace and break barriers to drive Africa's realization of its full potentials. Opeyemi understands that raising teenage leaders is a core aspect of nation building, and he has developed a curriculum that equips teenagers to lead ethically and motivate them to deliver and scale impact in their communities. He helps parents and schools navigate their teenagers through the turbulence of adolescence in order to become functional adults. He is also the host of Teens Hangout, an event that links experienced and professional teens mentor to teenagers in an atmosphere blended with entertainment and requisite wisdom. This Hangout is designed as a safe place for teenagers to share their thoughts and to be listened to without judgment. He is a member of Association of Professional Counselors in Nigeria and also an associate member of Teens Mentors Network Africa and has organized several events that has impacted over 5,000 teenagers. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome to the 2021 Intentional Parents Conference, UNCLE OPE.
Yay! Welcome, Uncle Ope. It's good to have you here.
I'm super excited to be here too. Thank you for having me.
I'm super excited to be doing this with you. I mean, you are the super educator. So who better to be talking to us about about 21st century compliant children? So welcome, sir.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm sure we are going to have a swell time today.
Certainly. So I'm just going to leave the stage and allow you blow us away. Thank you very much, sir, for doing this.
Let's do it.
Then. All right then.
All right.
All right.
So can you see my screen already? Let me know if you can see my screen. Good evening, everyone. I'm from Lagos, Nigeria. We are reaching the world. This is the Intentional Parents Conference 2021. And the theme for this year's conference is Parenting Today for Tomorrow. And this evening, I'm going to be sharing with you how to parent your teen in a countercultural way. I hope you're ready for this. Now, newsflash before I delve into what I have for you today. Throughout my session, we'll look into why traditional parenting techniques aren't as effective as they used to be. And we're also going to look at the pressures teenagers face in today's world and how to build a stronger relationship with your teenager throughout the tricky experiences they will have during these years. I hope you're ready. So I need you to call your husband, and if you are a father, call your wife, and if your children can also join us in this session because we are all going to learn. I really want to appreciate the organizers of this conference. Thank you for bringing me on board. Now, let's move. Now, I'm going to start with the introduction, which is a particular lesson I learned from a fishing hunt or a bird hunt or whatever you call it. I need you to pay close attention to my story. Now, during my years in the university as an undergraduate, my parents would take us to the village for Christmas and New Year celebrations. I know we all do that, or some of us do that. Now, the only thing I loved to do back then is to go to the river to hunt for fish and some airborne animals. I know a lot of people don't know that about Uncle Kwe. Now, we hunt for airborne animals that usually play around the river. I usually do this with my younger brother and some of my cousins back then. And my uncle used to be our guide. All right. So I never thought I would come close to death by drowning. I never thought that was possible. Though I don't know how to swim professionally, but I have mastered how to play in the river until one fateful hunt. Follow my story. Each time we go to the river, our guide, which is my uncle, directed us on safety, and in particular, he told us that we should be extra careful while walking in the water because whatever we do, we should ensure that we don't fall. So on this particular morning, I slipped out of the boat into the calm, frigid water in a place where I had never been before. Now, watch this. Please just follow the story. Now, the flooded timberland that I was putting on was no more than, I think, 3 feet deep. And I leaned against a tree, hoping that my bulky clothing and the tree's bark would camouflage my presence because I saw some birds. That way, I could surprise at least one of the several birds that play on that part of the river. That was not the first time I would do something like that, actually. So, because each morning when we wake up, I put on, waders, grab my net, sharp sticks, and stone, and head out to wander through the waist-deep water in search of fish in the river and some airborne, delicacies that we hope will fly close enough to us that we can take them back home as our afternoon snack. Boys will always be boys. I'm an expert in this, good hunter and shallow water. It's no big deal. So I spotted a bird and took a slingshot. My targeted bird was a duck. Yeah, I remember. So this bird made a splash, and I started to wade through the murky water to retrieve it. My focus was on the bird. My sling and sharp stick were in my hand. So I was determined to bag the first bird of the morning. It looked like it was going to be an easy task, right? But it rapidly proved otherwise. because with one fruit cautiously following the other, I soon realized that I was wading through eating troubled tree limbs, brush, tickets, and broken branches. Still, I trudged on, stumbling over the hidden underwater snares, yet convinced that I knew what I was doing. Now, mind you, my cousins and my younger brother, they've moved forward. I was all alone in the middle of this. So suddenly I tripped on something I had never seen in front of me. My foot wedged between two submerged logs, and my effort to pull it out threw me off balance. As my left side slowly started to tilt into the water, I resolutely tried to keep my eyes focused on, the bread so as not to lose it, because I need to go back home with my afternoon snack. All right. And my right hand was out of the water so I wouldn't lose my tools. In a split second, horror stories came to my mind of how many good hunters have drowned when their waders were filled with water. Then the sensation of cold water trickling down my back, covering my waders, woke me to the realization that I was actually under. I needed to react quickly, or the situation was going to go from bad to worse in a heartbeat. So my focus on something I thought was important, which was the bread, and my determination to hold on to something that I thought was valuable, which were my hunting tools, were causing me to what to sink. So I had to rethink what was important, or it was going to be the death of me, and I was too young to die. I grabbed a tree with my left arm, and I thrust my tools under the water with my right in order to get my balance. As water poured into my waders, I took my focus off the all-important bird that I wanted to kill. I rethought the value of my sling and stick and embraced something that was secure enough to save my life, which was what? The tree. That cold water experience got my attention. As soon as I evaluated what was truly important, which was my life, and let go of what wasn't important, which was the bread and my, hunting tools, I was able to loosen my foot, regain my balance, stand up, and take a deep breath. My heart was pounding, my eyes were misty, and my back was actually wet. So as I leaned against the tree, I exhaled in a sigh of relief. It was until I got back home a few hours later that I realized what had really happened in those seemingly quiet waters. Even though I thought I knew what I was doing, I had almost drowned. It has never happened to me. Now, what is the essence of this story? In a similar way, parents wade into the unknown waters of their child's adolescent years, focusing on what they think is right, holding on to what they believe is valuable, and believing that they know what they are doing. And they are all too often to end up in a mess. Parents may begin to, coast along the waters of adolescence approach, well-meaning moms and dads overestimate their parenting abilities and underestimate the influence of the submerged branches and logs of cultural pressures that entangles their family when the teen years arrive. I hope you're following. Now, perhaps your parenting focus has been on the bagging of the dog, like I did back then, of managing your child's outward behavior. My child is stubborn, my boy is this and all of that. I get all of those complaints from parents. But you don't know that your child's life desperately needs to be saved. For example, let me give you a few examples. Maybe you've had your heart set on your daughter becoming a great piano player, encouraging her to excel and pushing her to practice. She's learning piano, right? But what you may have failed to notice is that she's also experimenting with drugs after school. Or you've been cheering your son at football, dreaming about him getting into, college or getting a scholarship. And you are unaware that he has started using steroids and is experiencing violent mood swings. I had to let go of my treasured sling and sharp stick to save myself. What might you need to let go of to save your child? I'm going to be asking a lot of questions in this session, and I'm going to be sharing a lot of practical stories, right? So it was not easy to pry my foot loose on that fateful day, and I had to let go of something valuable to do it. As parents, you may have to let go of some of your expectations and your plans in order to refocus on the big picture of what is truly important in order to preserve your family and your relationship with your child. A lot of parents relate with their child as if their child is their enemy. The process of learning what is valuable often comes at the most inopportune time and a high cost. And that is why you are in this conference. Now, most parents have some sort of plan for raising their children, and they think they are prepared. When I talk with some parents, they say things like, God forbid it will never happen to my child. But know this, God forbid is not a strategy. It will never happen to my child is not a plan. Remember, I made a plan for my aunt and thought I was prepared. I was a seasoned hunter, back then. So I felt as many parents feel that I had done it all before and was competent enough to handle anything that might come my way, especially for parents who also have older teenagers and they feel, oh, I've done this for the elder ones. What happened to this one? Every child is unique. Every child is unique. When I got out of the boat and stepped into the water back then, I felt a great sense of confidence that it was going to be a successful day. All right. I had walked through bed hunting water before. That was not the first time, but I had never walked in that water before. If I had $1 for every time I've heard a parent say to me, Uncle Pe, I thought my child, would, or we had no idea that my child would do this, or I didn't see this coming, or I thought we were doing everything we were supposed to do. Sincerely, I'll be the richest man right now. In fact, I'll be so rich that I have enough money to spare. Because most parents believe in the goodness of their children and think they will never happen, things that will never happen to my kid. I heard that all the time. And I've had more than 250 teenagers pass through my mentorship platform. I've designed a program where kids and I get to spend time with each other so we can get to know the kids and even the parents as we help them through the struggles of adolescence that have come their way. Now, in my experience with several families and kids, I owe this to be true. If you as a parent don't think you will ever face challenges when your child enters his or her adolescent years, then you will not prepare and you won't be ready to meet the challenges when your teenager needs you the most. I'll say that again. If you don't think you will ever face challenges when your child enters his or her adolescent years, then you will not be prepared and you won't be ready to meet the challenges when your teenager needs you the most. So to help you to be ready for that time and to help your kids face the challenges they will face as they enter adolescence, this session of mine has been designed as an avenue to give you parents a chance to review your goals, your approach, and your focus as you prepare your children for their adolescent years. And I hope you're ready for this. So your children can mature into godly, healthy, productive adults. I say this all the time, with family bonds remaining strong and strengthening against the turbulent waters of the teen years. So this is what I want you to get from this session. Number one, an understanding of the current condition of teen culture. There's such a thing as the teenagers' culture, and the reasons why many teens struggle through their entrance into adolescence. Number two, I need you to, have an opportunity to reflect upon your current parenting skills and strategies to see if you can improve, because you can always improve. Number three, I'm going to give you sound and proven practical advice that will give you some more tools in your toolbox to effectively prepare and parent your teens through their adolescent years, and share effective methods that engage your children in relationship. Because I believe that if you can accomplish these goals, you will solve most problems with your teenager. A common theme I see with parents is that they overestimate their abilities, like I said earlier on, as parents to transition in their teens, adolescent years without any itches. And they underestimate the powerful influence that this culture can have on their children. And I hope you will let my session be your cold water experience to prepare you to effectively meet and respond to the greater needs of your teenagers. Now, I have this small sign on my wardrobe quoting a proverb that reminds me daily of my need to reflect, to ponder, to question, to seek wisdom, evaluate, and strategize my thinking for what is set before me. It is a quote that has changed my life. It says, "The way of fools seems right to them." And the second part of that proverb says, "But the wise listen to advice." I'm talking about Proverbs 12, verse 15. I should have listened to my uncle, our hunting guide back then, and taken him a little more seriously. So, some key concepts that you can take out of my story. Number one, parents sometimes hold on to something they consider valuable when their kids perceive it to be of little or no value. Number two, parents What's important in the elementary or primary school years is not necessarily important in a child's middle year and high school years. All right. Number three, parents should work hard. You should work hard as parents to ensure that you have your eyes and heart focused on the right things as your children enter adolescence. The first thing I need you to note is that most parents need to learn what's beneath the surface of the seemingly calm waters of adolescence to avoid stumbling and falling when your teens need you the most. Most parents would like to avoid a cold water experience to wake them up to the real needs of their child. You don't want your child to get into trouble before you know what your child needs. The sixth point, as you enter the teen years with your child, it is important to understand the teen culture. I'm going to talk about the teen culture today, to learn how to reflect upon your current parenting skills and to add some more tools to your parenting toolbox. So, the questions for discussion for this first part of my session, I need you to write out your parenting focus in one sentence, because where there is no vision, the people perish. Where there is no goal, the people have no direction. So, can you write out your parenting focus in one sentence? Number two, what hidden dangers might lie beneath the surface of the seemingly, by all appearance, calm waters of your child's life? Everything is calm right now, but what dangers do you think can be under, those calm waters of your child's life right now? The third question I need you to answer is, what are you holding on to? We hold on to a whole lot of things as parents, the way we grew up, forgetting that time has changed, right? What are you holding on to that you would consider valuable in your parenting goals and strategy with your kids? The first question is it possible those items you consider to be valuable during your child's elementary school years might not be valuable during the middle and high school years? The fifth question that I would like to ask you is, what secure tree? Remember that I held on to a tree when I was drowning. What secure tree would you grab hold of should you trip or free yourself start to go under? The sixth question, do you feel that all parents have to have a cold water experience before they see the need for gaining a deeper understanding of today's culture and wake up to the need for updating their parenting skills? Has there been anything that has gotten your attention and caused you to refocus on what is important for your family? The seventh question, do you believe that the calm waters of the elementary school years guarantees smooth sailing during the upcoming teen years? And the eighth question, do your parents, now I ask parents this question all the time, do your parents know everything that happened in your life during your teenage years? So what leads you to believe that you know everything that has happened in the life of your child? So there's an action point, because learning without action is just gathering of information, right? So while you are eating dinner with your family sometime next week after this conference, I need you to ask your preteens, what is your greatest fear about getting older? Also ask your teenagers, how are the teen years different than their preteen years? Then share with them the concerns you have for them as they get older. Now, I move to the second part of my session. Are you ready for this? Now, this is where the bulk of the challenge is for parents. And I'm going to be sharing with you why traditional parenting no longer works. All right? The rules that applied to the parenting game played long ago are no longer applicable to the new parenting game that is being played today. The boundaries have changed. The rules have been altered. The team and the uniform both look different. The idea of winning is still king, but the strategies to do so are vastly different from a generation ago. If you can't learn the new rules, the new strategies, and the new style, you will lose for sure. All right. Now, if you try to play the game with the old rules of engagement, you'll be eliminated quickly. It's a new game, parents. The purpose of this session is to actually help you understand some of the old ways of tackling the issues of teen influence. All right. Some of the old ways, excuse me, some of the old ways of tackling, the issues of teen influence are actually now illegal or not allowed right now. They might just get you penalized. Becoming knowledgeable about the various influences on teens today and gaining understanding of what no longer works on the playing field of parenting things set up a parent into a new model of parenting that will bring success. So before we walk on the field, let's talk about and understand three parenting approaches that don't work. Three parenting approaches that don't work. Number one, the first one is perfection is impossible. Perfection is impossible. Perfection is impossible. Parents have always wanted good things for their kids. Every parent longs for his or her kid to do well, make it in life. That's what every parent desire. And you want your child to be all that they can possibly be. All right. My parents wanted that for me too. And I'm sure your parents wanted that for you. Not perfection, really, but for their offspring to always strive to do better. The difference now is that teenagers are constantly told they are imperfect because of the shift in the youth culture. Now, thus causing kids to interpret parents' encouragement, holding to moral principles, and sharing wisdom as being critical. So, a lot of teenagers think that their parents are just critical. Now, bullying is a constant middle school hot topic. In fact, this year alone, I've spoken on platforms about bullying, I think about 6 times. All right. So it is a hot topic that can destroy the self-esteem of a young person in a matter of a day. Their world comparison shows little mercy, and the lack of affirming connected relationship leaves many to have to fend for themselves. In fact, there was a time that there was a cult group rising in Lagos. They called them our boys, and I was engaging some of these cult guys. They were just members of that cult group are just from age 13, 14, 15, and thereabout. They are teenagers. So I was asking them, why did you join? And it's because when they go to school and these other cult guys harass them, then because they are so fragile, they just give in to them. So for you not to be attacked in school, you have to belong to them. So there's no mercy in their own their own generation right now. During the early years, kids think that parents are perfect. They don't see the flaws, the blemishes, and the pimples of life. You protect them, you provide for them, and aim to please them. There's nothing wrong with those actions. But please they bear in their mind, and they think that you are perfect. Young girls and boys usually think about their parents. If you don't know that today, that your children think about you too. So these little princes and princesses enter their middle school years believing they live in a perfect world and have a perfect parent. They soon find out that the world is not so perfect. In fact, they begin to learn that the world is cruel. Comments are harsh. People are mean, and not everyone is good. They are exposed to more, experience more, and encounter more than they ever thought they would. And perhaps they, perhaps beyond what they were trained to handle. Little boys turn into tough guys, like I was sharing about our boys, all right, to protect themselves. And little girls turn into drama queens to be one up in a world that is always trying to pull them down. In their attempts to make sense of the world and apply what they have learned in their own lives, they come home emotionally spent and then interpret their parents' well-intentioned comments of encouragement and direction as a demand for perfection. So you know why your teenager is acting up. Now you know why your teenager is acting up, because he or she is going through a lot in school. It's a tough spot for kids. And I understand that it's a tougher spot for parents who want to encourage but feel somewhat crippled when their intentions are misconstrued and misinterpreted. Now, here are some statements that I've heard from teenagers over the past year. Would your kids be able to say any of these things about you? Now, follow this statement carefully. Number one, I've heard teenagers say something like this. I brought home some grades I was proud of, and my mom started complaining that I could do better. I wasn't living up to my potential and I needed to work harder. I've heard that so many times from teenagers. Number two, I never understood how my imperfect parents always demand perfection of me. Number three, I've heard teenagers say this. I wish my parents knew that the messiness of my room was just a picture of the messiness I felt in my life. They seem more concerned about my room. Your room is always scattered. Your room is always this. Your room is always that. But this teenager was like, my life is a mess. But my parents only care about my room being intact. I hope I'm, creating perspective for you parents this evening, so you know what your teenagers are dealing with. I remember when my parents, this is from another teenager. I remember when my parents and I had a fight over me not wanting to go to church. And they were so concerned about what others would think if I didn't show up. And if we had an argument. That's another statement from another teenager. I couldn't measure up to my parents' ideal word, so I gave up. Another teenager said, I think my rebellion at home was my attempt to prove to them that they don't live in a perfect little world. Funny, right? Another teenager said, it's funny to me that we had the most screwed up family in our own neighborhood, and our yard was prettier than everyone else's. I think it was my parents' way of pretending to others that we had it all together. It's getting interesting. Another teenager said to me, Uncle Pe, I can't wait to leave home so I can relax and enjoy life. It looked as if I was in a prison. Another teenager said this. I've considered committing suicide, and my parents are more concerned about the cleanliness of my bathroom than the condition of my heart. I'll say that again because I remember that when this teenager said this to me, I had to shed a tear. I've considered committing suicide, and my parents are more concerned about the cleanliness of my bathroom than the condition of my heart. Another statement from a teenager. Sadly, I set out to prove that my life of imperfection was better than my parents' life of perfection. That was deep. Another teenager said this to me. Uncle Pe, I was sent away to get help for my emotional problems. No one in my extended family knows because my parents are scared they won't be seen as good parents if someone knew their child is messed up. I thought my dad hated me because of the zits on my face. He always seemed embarrassed when I showed up around his friends, and he would make excuses to them in front of me as to why my face looked so bad. I remember scrubbing so hard that I would cry and wonder what was wrong with me. Another teenager said to me, I got tired. I could go on and on and on. Let me just say this last statement by a teenager of mine. He said, every time I saw my mom's mouth open, I shut my ears to her comments about how I was always failing at something. I think she meant well, but all I heard was, you are not good enough, which is exactly what I was hearing from others every day at school. Parents, you see, the message of perfection fuels the attitude that appearance and performance are the priority for relationships with others. It teaches kids that acceptance, love, and engagement with others are based on what you do rather than who you are. Remember what your kids actually learn from you is based on how they perceive you, not on what your intentions are. I'm going to say that again. What your kids learn from you is based on how they perceive you, not on what your intentions are. Let's look at the other approach, parenting approach that does not work, that work no longer. The second one is authority cannot be forced. Now, this second element has changed for many things in their respect for authority. I'll still talk about why they don't automatically respect those in authority and run the other direction when authority is forced on them. A lot of parents complain, my child does not listen to me, my child does not respect me. Listen, the discipline techniques of old, one of the speakers talked about this, and I'm going to buttress on that too. The discipline of old just don't work like they used to, do they? This is not a debate on whether you should spank your preteens or paddle your adolescents or whether there is merit in either. The issue here is that what once worked in parenting no longer works. Authority cannot be forced. Authority cannot be forced. But my suggestion is that, respect for authority happens best when it is cushioned on a foundation of relationship. On the foundation of relationships appeal rather than a show of authority through antiquated means that only damage relationship. I'll say that again. Now, this is my suggestion. Respect for authority happens best when it is cushioned on a foundation of relationships appeal rather than a show of authority through antiquated means that only damage relationships. So it's not that I don't believe in authority. I do. It's just that teenagers today don't respond to authority because of the shift in the influence of the culture, coupled with the bombardment of information that many times eliminates any hope for respect of that authority. During my years as an undergraduate, I used to look after my auntie's dog, a German Shepherd. His name was Simba, one of the few animals that I have the privilege to share my life with. Now, Simba was a stubborn dog. I can try to get him to do something, such as, follow me or to listen to instructions and to avoid something dangerous. But Simba has a mind of his own and often displays his obstinate nature. So when all my efforts to get him to respond to me are not working, this is what I do. I find myself wanting to prove my authority by eating him or pushing him, and yanking on his chain whenever he's caged until I am worn out. Now, what I have learned is that Simba does not respond to authority very well. And my attempt to enforce my authority only hurts our relationship. What I'm about to share will save a parent, will save a family. So each time I do that, he digs in his heels, and when it comes to a fight, he won't even budge. It sounds familiar, right? If you ever feel you are in a great position of authority, come try to tell Simba what to do. He will put you in your place quickly. So my show of authority to get him was interpreted as nothing more than a four-legged friend being picked on and bullied by a two-legged authoritarian with a big head. So here is what I've further learned in my interactions with Simba. If I can get him to think that he wants to do something, and I spend some time enticing, entreating, and encouraging him positively, he will allow me to walk. He will allow me walk him, walk with him, take him out on a walk, and all I have to do then is to guide him on his path. You see the connection I'm trying to make here. I play the relationship card with teenagers, with teenagers that I meet all the time, and I'll say, I'm not asking you to go this way because I'm your authority. I'm only asking you to go this way because I want good things for you. There's a difference between saying, do this, I'm your father. You have to do this because I'm your father. Or you have to do this because I want good things for you. There are two statements. So I just say this to my teenagers, that I want you to end up in a place where you want to be, not where you don't want to be. I still have the authority card in my hand, but I choose to play the relationship card. Parents, most times you play the authority card, and that is why your teenagers don't listen to you. Now, make a decision today that you stop playing the authority card. You start playing the relationship card, because when you play the authority card, it trumps everything on the table. My authority is shown on the face of that relationship card by the wisdom I bring, the opportunities I provide, and the decision I help them make, and the boundaries I set for them. It's an authority that is won, not demanded, and it is offered, not forced. Stop forcing authority on your teenagers, because people changes. People change because of relationship, not authority. I'll say that again. People change because of relationship and not authority. I'll say that again. People change because of relationship and not authority. So you want to change your approach as to how you've been engaging your teenager. Change it from being authoritative or being an authoritarian to building a relationship with your child. So another parenting approach that don't work anymore is judging build walls. Judging build walls. A lot of parents make this mistake, because many times the good message that parents express to their kids is interpreted as judgment. Your intentions are good, but your timing as a parent is off, because your understanding of what your children, is living through, is going through, is limited. When intended parents sometimes create dividing walls between their family relationships rather than bridges that connect them with their children. Like I said earlier on, a lot of parents relate to their teenagers as if they are enemies. Unfortunately, the good message of parenting often gets lost in translation of intent. Somebody say intent. The friction in relationships caused by what is said versus what is actually heard. So there's a difference between what you are saying, what you're saying, and what your teenagers is hearing from you. So there's a friction in relationship caused. The friction in your relationship with your teenager is caused by what is said versus what is actually heard. And many times it ignites a war of words. and light a fuse into an explosive attitude that detonates and destroys the delivery of much needed messages of wisdom, scriptural insight, and ethical discussion. When parents fail in their attempt to understand what is really happening in their children's life, the timing of their well-intentioned comments often leaves children feeling judged. So most of the times when you're talking to your child and you think you're giving them wisdom, you need to understand the place of timing, because if you don't understand the place of timing, your children will feel like you're judging them. The second area where many parents miss the opportunity for greatness in the lives of their children is when they fail to understand the diversity of the peer relationships their children are developing. Chances are most kids have a racially diverse group of friends. Your children goes to school and they interact with children from other backgrounds, other religion. All right, they have a variety of relationships with acquaintances that will cause them to question what they've been taught in the process of developing their own belief system. Kids are exposed to religions that may even develop friendships with those of different faiths, causing them to question who is right and who is wrong. Many will get to know kids who are even homosexual or have a wide range of acceptable behaviors, and they will wonder where these friends fit into the lessons they've been taught from home. Others will wander through issues of alcohol, tobacco, definition of marriage, sanctity of life, divorce, sexual boundaries, and politically dividing promotions that call into question many of the life truths that they've been raised to believe. Parents, there's work to do. There is serious work to do. So you need to know that truth with judgment pushes kids away. Truth with relationship draws them to you. I'll say that again. Truth with judgment pushes kids away, and truth with relationship draws them to you. So if you've been saying something and your teenager is not getting it, probably you need to change your approach. It is important for you as a parent to understand that perfection is impossible. Authority can no longer be forced. If you don't know that today. Authority can no longer be forced. And judging builds walls. So you've been building walls with your teenager all this while. It's because of the wrong approach that you've been using. So if teens experience all three of these components that I've shared, it's easy to understand some of the behavior we see in kids today. Think about it for a moment. If children perceive that parents are pushing perfection, they feel life is more about exercise of authority than the pursuit of relationship, and sense judgment when they express themselves. It's no wonder that many kids want to be somewhere else physically, emotionally, and maybe even spiritually. A lot of kids they can't wait to leave the house. And this is the reason why we now have undergraduates who get into the university and start misbehaving. So let's look at key concepts. Number one, from what I've shared, if you have not been listening, kids sometimes interpret parents' encouragement, their holding to morals and biblical principles, and sharing of wisdom as being critical. Number two, your kids might think that you're perfect. They are beginning to learn that they are not perfect. They may think that you are perfect, but they are beginning to learn that they are not perfect. Number three, at times, imperfect people have a tough time being with perfect people. You have to think about it. The fourth thing I need you to pick from what I've shared is many teenagers come home after school emotionally spent and then interpret their parents' well-intended comments of encouragement and direction as a demand for perfection. So now because there's a difference between the problem, the cause of a problem, and the effect of a problem. So the fifth concept I need you to bring out from what I've shared so far in this second part is because the culture has influenced a child's view of authority, a parent's show of authority does not work as well as it used to. The sixth thing I need you to pick out from this is people don't change because of the show of authority. They change because of relationship. Similarly, consequences teach lessons. Relationships change the art. I'll say that again. Consequences teach lessons. Relationships change the art. I think you want to go for change of art. The seventh thing I would like you to know is what is said and what is heard are sometimes two different things. What is said and what is heard are sometimes two different things. The eighth thing I would like you to know is truth with judgment pushes kids away, why truth with relationship draws them to you. And the ninth thing I would like to share with you is when children process the principles they have learned and begin to apply this to their culture, it is better for parents to walk with them in their journey than make them avoid the path parents desire them to follow. So, questions for discussion. I said you can discuss this with your family, you can have a self talk with yourself. So, the first question is if every time you encountered a particular person, that person always corrected you, never quit telling you what you were doing wrong, and always had a better way of accomplishing your task, wouldn't you avoid that person? Think about it. So now you know why your teenager is avoiding you, right? Do you think that your kids think you want perfection displayed in their lives? Number three question I need you to ask yourself is, are you hesitant to share your imperfections with your teenagers out of embarrassment or because you are fearful they will know you are not as perfect as they perceive you to be? The fourth thing I would like to ask is, are you driven to always correct your child and make sure there is a lesson behind every correction? If so, what do you think fuels that desire? The fifth question, do you think that sharing your imperfections with your teen can bring a sense of hope into his or her life? The sixth question I would like to ask you, do you get frustrated that your kids don't respect the person you are or the position you hold in their lives? The seventh question, do you feel that you are an authority in the life of your children or have to play your authority card at times to get their attention and remind them of who is the boss? I have more questions. Do you believe that the power of relationship has more of a chance of changing your child's heart than forcing your position of authority on him or her? The ninth question I have for you, do you think there are ways to teach moral and biblical values and help a child learn the difference between right and wrong without being judgmental? And the 10th question is, do you think that the position of perfection, authority, and judge can be interpreted as arrogance? Think about these questions. Do you have a tough time trusting your children because you know that they are not perfect? Do your children have a tough time trusting you because they think you are perfect? The 12th question, if a teen believes that church is a place you go to show off your perfection, a teenager actually said this to me. What would be some ways that a parent could counter such thinking? Most teenagers actually think that parents go to church to show off that they are perfect. You wear nice clothes. Oh, daddy is going to church to show off his new shirt. Mom is going to church to show off, a new dress. So what would be some ways that a parent could counter such thinking? So action point. When you have a quiet moment with your kids, try to share some of your imperfections. You'll be amazed how kids respond. They just might begin to see you as normal and start to understand that it's okay to make mistakes because we all make them. Your admission of imperfection conveys a message that counters their feeling that you are demanding perfection. Remember, it's what they perceive. Affirm your love for them in their imperfections and give them hope that imperfection is actually pretty normal. And if you don't think that these issues of perfection, authority, and judgment are pertinent for you and your child, ask your teenager these questions. Number one, do you think that I want perfection from you? These are the questions I need you to ask your teenagers. Number two, do you think that I push my authority on you? You'll be dazed at the response you get. Number three, do you think I'm a judgmental person? Write those three questions down and ask your teenagers this evening after this session. Do you think that I want perfection from you? Do you think that I push my authority on you? Do you think that I'm a judgmental person? So let's look at a new model for parenting teenagers. We've talked about several things. Now let's quickly consider a new model for parenting teenagers. All right, and I need your full attention right now because I'm convinced that parenting kids is more than just an exercise in entertainment, improvement, and survival. Surely it's more than just making sure your sons don't look at pornography and your daughters are virgins when they get married. It's more than just the fulfillment of the challenge to move them from dependence to independence. I know the purpose of parenting is more than a boot camp of preparation for the worst they will face in life. And parenting your kids is more than just fulfilling an obligation to train up a child so that they can train up their children and so on. Parenting kids is about relationships. Dear parents, I would like to say that again. Parenting kids is about relationships. Remember, teens change because of relationship, not authority. They flourish in an atmosphere where they know that they have the freedom to make choices and not shamed when they make mistakes. And they are loved the most when they deserve it the least. So learning a few easy techniques to enhance your relationship with your child will create an arena for relationship that is critical to the new model for parenting your teenagers. So let's look at the new model, all right? Your unique role as a parent. You have to know this. Your unique role as a parent. Out of all the billions of people on this planet, God chose you to parent your child. This is true whether he or she is your birth child, your adopted child, or even a grandchild who has come into your life, or one of the kids in your neighborhood. God has crossed your life with theirs for reasons beyond what any parent will ever know. That means you have unique insight, wisdom, talent, skills, and values to give your child. In a culture that offers excitement, attraction, and promises of entertainment, it's easy for parents to feel that they can't compete. But kids really don't want more than glitz and glamour. As human beings, as human beings created in God's image, we are hardwired to want things with intrinsic value. Your teenagers are no different. Daddies in the house. Chances are you're going to be the man in your daughter's life until you give her away to the man with whom she will spend the rest of her life. Your involvement with her will shape her ideas about relationships with men and more than likely determine the types of interaction she has with others. While moms usually instill a sense of value into the life of a child, dads validate their existence. Leave or ignore your daughter, and when she's old, she will still remember the scars from your lack of participation in her life. And I'll just bet, Mom, that your relationship with your son will determine the type of woman he marries one day. You will have the opportunity to help him become the man someone wants to share a life with. Because of you, he will know compassion and empathy and develop sensitivity beyond what his manliness allows. Have a good relationship with him, and he will bring you years of blessings, for you will always be on his mind and in his heart until his dying day. Spend time correcting or ridiculing, and mothers do that a lot. Or do everything for him, and you will force him to express his manhood unhealthily and never be happy with who he is as a man. Dads, I want to say this to you. Your relationship with your son is essential and a key influence in his development into a man of character. Withhold your blessing or expression of approval. Be saying, I don't like to say I love people now. I'm a man. Okay. Your expression, withhold your blessing or your expression of approval for who he is and is to become. And the damage will be evident throughout his life. A lot of men are bitter today because they don't understand what it means to be loved by their fathers. The message that he is your son with whom you are well pleased. Even God had to tell Jesus, this is my son in whom I am well pleased. So that message can usher into your son's life a world of contentment, and its suppression can haunt a man all the days of his life. Take care to ensure that he knows of your love for him. Don't assume that your child knows that you love him. Don't assume. Don't assume. Make sure that all the losses your son will experience in his life, you are not one of them. Parents, I'm saying this. Make sure that of all the losses your son or your child or your daughter will experience in their lives, you are not going to be one of them. Mothers, you will teach your daughters how to love a man, how to love children, and how to balance many things in life. Your service is contagious, your diplomacy is elegant, and your hospitality shows grace in action beyond measure. Your daughter needs you, your thoughts, and your support. She does not need your nagging. She doesn't need your shaming. She doesn't need your dominance. Your role is to help her become her own woman. And I know that we have some grandparents in the house, so I'm going to talk to you too. Grandparents, what's your role in the life of your grandkids? The fun one. You get to eliminate all the stuff that did not work with your own kids and spend time giving wisdom, love, acceptance in a way that can be felt from parents. Your grandkids desperately need you in their lives. You have the chance to take advantage of your wealth, knowledge, time, and position to add flavor to their lives. Do so to acknowledge their worth and to affirm the role that your kids are having in their lives. See, parents, you need to know that things were created as relational beings, so they are not herd animals. They long to connect, to engage with one another, and to have meaningful relationship. When personal connections don't happen, social molding, the impartation of wisdom, and the validation of value and self-esteem instilled by parents don't happen. But what does happen is this: a new doors of opportunity open for parents to walk into the lives of their children. Those leave me alone signs hanging on their doors transform into welcome mats for those parents who have spent time developing relationships with their children. So you want to go back home today with the decision that you're going to develop relationship with your children. You stop, nagging and all of that. You teach your kids in their early years, but you train them in their adolescence years. I'll say that again. Parents, you teach your kids in their early years when they were younger, but when they become teenagers, you train them. It is time to shift. You can't keep doing the same thing the same way and expecting different results. Albert Einstein said that is the highest level of insanity. And I know that you are not insane. So you need to know that it is time to shift. It is time to shift. So here are some of the lessons that I've learned over the years that I've found to be true in parenting teenagers. Number one, a discipline problem is usually a relationship problem. So you think your child is not disciplined. It is actually a relationship problem. Number two, a communication problem is often rooted in relationship issues. Number three, the lack of understanding between a parent and child is usually the result of a few cracks in the relationship foundation. Number four, kids change through relationship, not from the exercise of authority. Number five, small issues become big issues when there is no relationship. Number six, conflict become an enemy between two people when a relationship is no longer present. And conflicts are quickly resolved when relationships flourish. The next lessons are found to be true about parenting teenagers. Lessons to be learned from each other are better taught when a bridge of relationship is formed between two people. Rules in your home not connected in relationship usually cause rebellion. Rules in your home that is not connected in relationship will cause rebellion. A person best recognizes wisdom when there is relationship. You will recognize wisdom when there's relationship, or you just take that wisdom as mere information. Another, one of the models that you need to embrace as parents when you're parenting your, teenagers in the 21st century is you commit to spend time with your kids. Commit to spending time with your kids. So here is what I suggest to every family I come in contact with. Find a place in your schedule so that you can get with your child once a week, one-on-one. Make it over a breakfast, an afternoon meeting over coffee, or a special designated dinner that you can have consistently and systematically. Begin doing this when your child turns 13 and let him or her know of your commitment to get together every 7 days just to spend time together. It's better to start early with this tradition. Waiting to meet your kids when there's conflict is like trying to string communication lines in the middle of a hurricane. That is going to be very difficult. So build those avenues now when the weather is quiet, and build them in a way that they will survive any storm that comes into your family. And the next one is ask questions to create connections. Ask questions to create connections. I'm pressed for time, and that's why I'm rushing. I'm really pressed for time. Ask questions to create connections. So when you get together, commit to not now, mothers, you need to listen to this. You need to learn how to keep quiet. You don't have to talk all the time. So when you get together with your teenagers, commit to not sharing your opinion unless you are asked. Pledge to yourself. This is actually difficult for mothers, but pledge to yourself not to correct language, thoughts, comments, or opinions, and be determined to get to know your child's way of thinking. Understand how they think, understand their personality over the next few years. For it is during this giving of your time that you can share wisdom, transfer a concept of value, share experiences, and provide the opportunity for a relationship to happen. And when you do spend this time together, shift from a teaching mindset to a training mindset. Shift from a teaching mindset to a training mindset. Consider that you've been pretty much taught the material by the time your children reach their teen years. And now is the time to start training them to apply what you have built into their hearts. You've taught them when they were young. It is now time for them to apply what you have built into their hearts. So your questions will push them to pull up current and archived files and learn how to apply them into their lives. Your questions will convey a great sense of value to them. If you ask to get to know their heart, and don't just ask as an entry point for you to share your opinion about something. No, they will eventually learn that this time is about them, not about you. Because most teenagers feel, oh, it's about daddy, it's about mommy. As a matter of fact, when I meet kids and spend time in a one-on-one setting, I choose not to share my opinion unless they ask. All right? It doesn't mean that I don't want to share it. There are times that I'm chomping at the bit to give answers. Share that deep insight that I have, or correct something they just say that just doesn't fit. It's like putting together a jigsaw puzzle where I know where a particular piece fits, but I let the person I'm putting the puzzle together with figure it out and come to an understanding of where it fits. In due time, you will have the opportunity when your teens will ask you a question, but wait for that question. When the question comes, they are seeking wisdom or your insight, and they ask you because you have let them know that they are valued, they are worth your time, you care about them, and they feel a sense of comfort and trust in the atmosphere of discussion that you've created. Remember, training is helping them take what they already know and apply it into their lives. Your questions are just stirring their thinking to piece it all together to come to a conclusion. So let's quickly run through the key concepts. Parenting kids is about a relationship. Parents hold a unique position in their children's lives to offer wisdom, relationship, time, value, and experience. And guess what? This is the only thing that you can give to your child that nobody else can give to your child. You might be doing all the right things as a parent and yet not be what your child needs you to be. Number 4, countering the effect of this culture won't happen by making sure your child's room is clean or ensuring that she makes good grades. Parenting kids is more than just an exercise in entertainment, improvement, and survival. Life lessons in the teen years are more caught than taught. The purpose of asking questions is to get your children to take what they already know and learn to apply it to their world. This process of retrieval and application is sometimes more important than the lesson to be learned. A fool appears wise when he keeps his mouth shut. A fool delights in sharing his own opinion. That is not Uncle Pe's word. That is from the Bible. Proverbs 17 verse 28. Sometimes, mothers especially, you need to keep quiet. You don't need to pick on everything that you see. Sometimes there's wisdom in silence sometimes. Time is a gift, and that is why it is called the present. So, questions for discussion. Do you believe that your child, whether a preteen or a teenager, would really desire to have and maintain a relationship with you? Other than the 5 items that I've listed, wisdom, relationship, time, value, and experience, what do you have to offer your child? What else do you have to offer your child? Knowing that one day in the future, you might look back at this time and regret that you didn't spend more time with your child. Do you think that there are items in your schedule that keep you from finding 2 hours a week when you can meet with your child? Seriously, out of all the activities, offices, roles, pastimes, and commitments you have, where does your child rate in your list of priorities? Ask yourself. Do you spend time trying to give your child something that you didn't have? If so, then what's the true motivation behind your giving? To please your child or to please yourself? Why is it difficult to listen to your child's answers to your questions when the answers they are giving are not necessarily what you would like to hear? The seventh thing, are you uncomfortable spending time with your child when there is silence? The eighth thing, do you think there's a difference in the way that girls and guys learn and have conversations? Why so? It's getting deep, right? If your dad or your mom, if your dad or mom would have spent time with you, like I'm encouraging you to spend time with your kids, do you think that your relationship would have been any different than it is now? Action point. Ask your children if they would like to get together once a week for coffee, ice cream, or hamburger, or a trip to a different restaurant, a movie with a follow-up breakfast discussion, or a morning workout shadowed by a donut throwdown. All right. Tell them that you hope that they will just want to get. It's just a get together, nothing serious. Don't don't make it look so serious. They will run away. All right. That first time you do get together, have a list of questions you could ask should the atmosphere turn silent. All right. And don't share your opinions. You are asking questions. Don't share your opinions. Don't share comments. Don't criticize. Don't correct. See what happens. And remember, you are creating an atmosphere for future times together. You don't have to do everything in one meeting. Parents. Whew. And this is the last part of my session. It's getting deep. Wow. So what is so different about today's culture? What is so different about today's culture? I figured out that a lot of parents don't know this. And that is why it is important for me to share this. No, I'm behind time, so I need to press for time. Most parents believe that if they just do the right things and protect their kids from all the evils in the world, then their children will perform well. Stay on track and not be influenced by the pressures of their culture. Yet, many who have held on to this belief find their kids leaving church upon graduation from high school, abandoning what they have been taught and ignoring what they know to be truth. The reality is that the culture has changed drastically from when most parents grew up and developed their parenting styles and concepts, unaware of the effect that today's culture is having on teenagers. Parents become frustrated when their styles don't work and they see their teenagers moving further away spiritually and relationally as time passes. The luring and enticing promises of this culture's message, as well as the alternative lifestyles that are promoted, permitted, publicized, and prevalent, are appealing to teens' normal levels of curiosity in their search for identity. The culture has shifted, and so most parents' styles of engagement with their children must shift. The place to start is by gaining an understanding of the effect of the current culture on teenagers and embracing the idea that most of our kids who have gone astray, most of our kids who have gone astray have been enticed victims rather than willing participants. So most teenagers that have gone left, they are enticed victims. They are not willing participants. This realization will change the way that you approach your child and turn your feelings of disappointment into understanding and compassion. Now, here is how the culture is affecting our kids and influencing their lifestyle and decision making. Number one, exposure to everything. Exposure to everything. With teenagers spending almost 10 hours a day Now it's holiday period, right? 10 hours a day in front of some type of screen, either computer, television, cell phone, electronic reader, or tablet, smartphone, portable music player. Accessing videos, visiting internet sites, communicating with peers, searching the web, listening to music, video chatting with family, playing video games, communicating through tweets, and sending or receiving photographs. Is there any question about the increased amount of information that is overloading them? It's called information bombardment, and it is happening at such a rate that teenagers are exposed to everything imaginable. Can you think of anything that teenagers have not seen these days? Technology and the internet have changed the face of the world, the way we all live, and the way we engage with one another. Teenagers are overexposed to images and words that make lasting impressions, numb the senses, and instill new ideas. And while this exposure has a good many benefits for us all, there's no question that consideration must be given to how it affects our kids. The sexualization of the culture cannot be attributed to just the presence of 4.2 million pornographic sites on the internet. That's much too easy an answer. Pornography has been around for a long time. It has flourished because the culture has become permissive and images have become accessible. For the teen culture, it has an amazing appeal to disconnected girls who desire to have someone pay attention to them, and to, confuse young men who long for ways to express their manhood. Imagery plays a big role in the life of teenagers, and seductiveness and sexuality just happen to be two of the ways that teens direct attention to themselves. This overexposure to culturally permissive influences that are no longer, controlled by parents, and the permission to explore and engage in alternative lifestyles and ways of thinking has become the right of all teens longing to find themselves in a culturally eclectic atmosphere where anything goes. So the next way culture is affecting our kids, and influencing their lifestyle and decision making, is lack of real connection. In fact, this is why the rate of teen suicide, has increased. Lack of real connection. Lack of real connection. Those 10 hours spent looking at a screen of some sort have an opportunity cost associated with the activity that very few anticipate. Every hour spent looking at, a screen, except for video chatting, is one less hour spent relating face to face with someone else. I will submit to you that this lack of interaction is doing two things to teenagers. First, teenagers' lack of genuine relationship with one another fuels their drive to connect. So they go to greater lengths to get noticed and make a statement in hopes that someone will pay attention to them. They long to belong. Second, when social interaction is limited to one-line texting statements that become rapid fire, chatterfield responses, communication becomes more about me than about the. All right. Now we even have stickers on WhatsApp. And the opportunities for iron to sharpen iron does not happen as it would in face-to-face conversation. I'm a Christian and I read the Bible a lot. In Ecclesiastes 10 verse 10, it says that if the axe is dull and its edge unsharpened, more strength is needed. And that strength is usually, shown in a teen's willingness to get closer to the edge and engage in more extreme behavior to make a first impression. To make a first impression, be accepted, and find peers who are like-minded. This lack of connection then creates a world where expression is welcomed and encouraged. One doesn't have to listen long to media sources to understand that many teenagers are crying out, "Won't someone just listen to me?" As if to find value in the expression of opinions. I'm reminded of the old proverb that states, "Fools find no pleasure in understanding, but delight in hearing their own opinion." I'm reminded of their own opinion. That's Proverbs 18 verse 2. Texting, social media, tweeting. Social media, tweeting, and YouTube. I'm reading some of the comments. All right. So texting, social media, tweeting, and YouTube are not bad things, actually. They provide the perfect opportunities for teenagers to express their opinions. However, when the style of communicating becomes their primary source of interaction, it doesn't take long to understand that the opportunity to engage at a deeper level is many times lost and placed second fiddle to their chosen and oftentimes more convenient form of communication. This great disconnect among teenagers has also created a world where appearance becomes a priority and a comparison mindset enters a child's thinking. Value of self is determined by how many friends one has on social media sites, how many likes are given to comments or and expressions posted electronically. The concern for how I look in front of peers takes center stage, and one's ability, talent, character, or personality fades into a backdrop that is rarely seen or displayed. Overexposure to what others have, through the internet and media channels fuels a greater sense of entitlement and diminishes the meaning of the word contentment. I see teenagers spending more time in the shallow end of the relationship pool, never venturing into deeper waters where value is determined by those attributes that lie beneath the surface. Sorry. So perhaps you will notice the priority of appearance in the following scenarios. We're talking about lack of reconnection, and we're talking about, appearance. Look at this. A daughter shows a little more skin and violates a standard of modesty to attract guys or to fit in with other girls of her own age. Your best friend's son starts using language while texting or posting on social network sites that is unacceptable to parents but welcome in a teen's world because it wants to appear to be strong, manly, and tough. Your pastor's son changes preferences in music and lifestyle because he wants to disconnect with a church group that has high moral expectations and connect with another group of friends who accept him for who he is. A 12-year-old niece is being made fun of by her peers for the way she dresses and now wants new clothes and a new hairstyle, painted nails, and makeup in order to find acceptance by those who ridicule her. Your next door neighbor's daughter takes advantage of her photography skills and sends seductive and scantily clad pictures of herself in hopes of finding a connection with your son. Oh my God. So not only is appearance a priority for them, but performance becomes crucial. In a world of disconnected teenagers, what you think about me and how I perform become a poor standard of the value from one's life. See, kids want to belong somewhere. All right? They want to belong somewhere. So let's see an example. Let's see different examples of some performance, right? Number one, the daughter who will stop at nothing to make good grades and either immerse herself into studies or learn to cheat because she feels she has to do well in school to find her value in life. It's your son's best friend who will fulfill his dares or push the limits with drugs and alcohol and engage in some unthinkable behavior because his friends push him into it. It's a young lady in your church's youth group having oral sex with a guy because sexual performance is vital to keeping the relationship. It's the girl who checked your groceries this morning at the local grocery store who is encouraged by her friends to have sexual intercourse because she needs to complete a rite of passage into their cycle of friendships. Is the daughter who dives into depression and now hates her parents after realizing that she isn't as talented. She isn't as talented or gifted as her parents led her to believe. Is the teenager who performs obsessively in athletics, band, or academics because he's deriving his value and importance from his performance rather than his love of the game or his talent. Let's quickly talk about the fact that over-responsible parents, create irresponsible kids. Because of time, I'll just rush through this. Make sure that you allow your children do certain things. Trust them with responsibilities. All right. I'll just jump through that because of time. Now, another thing in this culture is no one gets respect. No one gets respect. So let me quickly say some things about that. So when your kids hear about some few crooked politicians, do you think they question the intentions of all politicians? All right. They don't question it. When they hear of teachers having sex with a fellow student, does it change their concept of teachers? If a child hears about the sexual, tryst of, one president, do you think it changes our perspective of all who hold that office? What do you think many kids think of priests that, with all the reported sexual abuse saturating the news? When a child hears of a professional athlete's life failures, does it taint his image of a professional athlete? How about when a minister of the gospel is sleeping with another man's wife and your teen find out about it? Or worse, when she hears of a parent who has killed his or her own child or spouse or has abandoned the family. I wonder how a teenager interprets the excessive and sometimes embellished information spouted over many news sources. I see this shift begin to happen. Teens shift their respect for people to a respect for things and possessions, further fueling their sense of entitlement. They also don't give respect until it is earned. They don't give respect until it is earned. And relationally, they now see bad before they see good. This shift pushes them into withholding respect for authorities whose potential could be held as a source of wisdom. The next one is loss of gender differences. At least now you know that we now have the teen culture is actually confusing. It's already confusing, but the loss of gender, all right, the loss of gender differences adds another element of bewilderment as to who they are at the time they are trying to find themselves and search for their own identity. They see guys getting married to guys. A politician determines whether marriage between homosexuals is right or wrong, especially in the advanced world. They hear constant debates about gender rules and lawsuits galore, screaming for equality between sexes. Musical expression includes girls kissing each other and liking it. Media portrays men as buffoons and sitcoms, and the influences of old politicians, teachers, silence. Inside the heart of everything girl is the longing to be valued for who she is and not what she can do sexually. And second, inside the heart of everything guy is a desire to express his manhood through something more than the size of his body parts, what toys he owns, or how he performs physically or academically. Every woman wants a prince, every kid wants a hero, and every man wants to be both. Whether homosexuality and same-sex relationships are right or wrong is not my point of discussion here. I'm just saying that the issue of gender differences is confusing for kids. The next one is we are living with constant uncertainty. There is, Boko Haram in Nigeria at the moment, insurgency, things are happening all around. I would just love to run, but the point of my discussion about the crazy culture that the teens live in is that it is actually confusing. And if it's confusing for any or for all of the reasons I list, then it's important for parents to walk their kids through their confusion. On that part, I encourage parents not to be afraid to help their teenagers process their thoughts and ponderings and to not work as a judge and jury to tell them where they are wrong in their thinking, but as a voice that speaks truth in their confusion. I'm actually rounding up right now. So let's quickly look at key concepts. Teens are overexposed to images and words that make lasting impressions, numb the senses, and instill new ideas. Alternative lifestyles and ways of thinking are not only prevalent, they are promoted, publicized, and permissible. Teens' lack of genuine relationships with one another fuels their drive to connect with their peers because of their deep longing to belong. Today's teens are encouraged to express Today's teach Today's teens are encouraged to express themselves, and that is mainly accomplished through appearance and performance. Because no one gets respect without earning it, teenagers have shifted their respect for people to a respect for things and possessions, further fueling their sense of entitlement. Every woman wants a prince, every kid wants a hero, and every man wants to be both. Over responsible parents spend too much time pleasing, protecting, and providing for their children, and not enough time preparing them for the next stage of life. Many times, well-meaning parents do too much for their teenagers, and in the process, these actions stifle motivation, eliminate creativity, promote irresponsibility, and postpone maturity. I guess my time is up, so let me just let me just run. So let's quickly look at some questions, because I need parents to get this thing right.
Oh my God.
At any point in your parenting, have you made the comment, I'm glad I wasn't raised into this team's culture? Have you had that moment? Now, the second thing is, how has overexposure affected your family? The third question is, what are some of those influences affecting your child that you have no control over? The fourth question I would like to ask is, do you feel caught in a bind when permission for some behavior is allowed elsewhere and standing your ground about what you will allow is questioned and becomes a point of conflict with your own child? What do you usually do in this situation? The fifth question, and that would be the last question. I'll just probably send the slide to Wendy. So, do you feel your child is more disconnected from relationships than you were when you were in high school? I have like 15 questions, but this is the action point. If you have teenagers that have spent some time indicating that there are differences between the culture that you were raised in and the culture that they are living in, take them out for coffee, ice cream, or just walk where the environment allows for discussion. Ask them what they think the differences between those two cultures are, and have some fun talking about the differences, but also acknowledge where today's culture perhaps confuses you and raises concern in your mind for them. If your child is ready to eat those 10 years and is a little apprehensive to jump in feet first, ask how you can help him or her move into the upper room. All right. So those discussions might start out with questions like, what would you say are your greatest fears about school next year? How do you think that life will change for you as you get older? Who's your best friend? And do you think that will change as you get older? What would you say that who would you say who would say that you are their best friend? And what do you like about them? If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be? Do you think that will happen this next year? Let this be more of a time of listening than you speaking. Hear their heart, and it will give you a better basis to ask more questions in the future. Eventually, they will start asking you questions, and you will have the indication that you've been looking for to speak truth in their lives. All right.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you.
can I quickly share
Uncle
something
Pen-
for teenagers?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I want to quickly share some of the few packages we have for teenagers, and I'm giving parents on this platform a huge discount for you. So we have a summer mentoring program. All right, I'm engaging individuals from age 9 to 20 in a mentorship workshop for 12 weeks. All right, starting from July 31st. All right, so you can reach out to me on Instagram. All right, now this program would, is the bridge between where your child is and where he or she ought to be. So reach out to me or reach out to Wendy. I'm giving parents from this platform 50% discount.
Wow.
We also have things like that with Uncle Bear, and we have Teens Leadership Institute. Watch out for my book, Dear Teenager, and you can contact us. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Uncle Pen. See me now buying down like I'm double. So that's what they call it in Yoruba.
Yes,
Well done. Thank you so much, sir. It's been an evening of the knowledge you gave it to us like an educator. So I totally understood how you're trying to pass the information out, because some of us will have to come and watch the replay. So when we come and watch the replay, at least we have all the information there. Thank you so much, sir. I mean, I don't even want to start telling you where my notes started from and all that. So everyone go, just write your questions right away. We won't be taking too many of them, but we'll still try and take about 2 or 3 because I know you have them. So while we take another review from the inner circle, please go ahead and put your questions down so that we can pass them to Uncle Ope and he can answer it before we go. Today, as in I am numbed.
My name is Mrs. Basi Onwanako, CEO Lindem Entertainment, an educational games cafe where children learn through the arts of play. I met Wendy sometime in 2020, and one thing led to another. I joined the TIP, that's the Inner Circle, TIP Academy in 2021, and it's been a beautiful time. You're exposed to like minds, you're exposed to people who are on the same parenting journey with you and are ready to learn, exposed to a lot of webinars that empower you, and of course the books that we read. Oh my, I'm a lover of books, so that's a fun part for me in the TIP circle. So it's a beautiful place to be, it's a beautiful forum. You have parents that are on the journey with you who want to do better on their parenting journey. It's a place you should come and partake of, a forum that will blow your mind with knowledge. Why don't you join us in 2022 so that you would really enjoy your parenting journey? Have a beautiful day. Till we meet again in TIP Academy. See ya.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Welcome, coach.
Oklahoma, I want to breathe. Yes, boss. That was it.
That was it.
I'm trying to catch my breath. Yeah. I'm coming up because I want to be partial. I want to be partial to the parents in the inner circle. We are bringing Uncle Ope to the inner circle to come and break this thing down. We go for the topmost. We don't joke. We don't stop where the knowledge just keeps in trickles. No way. We get to the bottom, the roots. That's where we're going to hunt him down and hunt him into the system. Uncle Ope, that was amazing. My phone is blown up. Parents are crying on my phone, so I hope you're going to be able to sleep this night also. As I'm not going to be sleeping as well. And it was just amazing. Somebody's asking for Uncle Ope's Instagram handle. Please, maybe make sure that he shares it so that we can project it while we take the questions. Thank you, boss.
All right. My Instagram
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Uncle Ope. One word.
Okay, just Uncle Ope. Okay. We'll look for it.
HEUNCLEOPE.
Okay, so you got that. And you also got that about the inner circle. So there's not much to say anymore. You can hear the reviews and you can, see the kind of people we come in there to talk to us. So, you should be on in 2022. And that will be the best thing that will happen in your parenting. So thank you so much again, Uncle Ope. Someone said their brain is on fire. So I know you have busted my brain. All right, we have a question here, and the person said, Uncle Ope, how long did it take you to get here? I don't know what the person means.
I guess the person is asking me how long have I been doing this? I've just been doing this
Probably
for 6 years professionally.
Wow. All right, we're looking out for other questions. While we're looking out for other questions, Uncle Ope, let me ask this one. So, as scenarios, you do scenarios and you do, real life situations. So, there's a parent out there and the child is already, the relationship between he and his son is already bad. Where do they start from? So where do they start from? This connection has not been there over the years, and all of a sudden the parent is here, and the parent can hear all of this, and it's probably one of those buzzing Coach Wendy right now. Where does this kind of parent begin?
Okay, so the first thing you need to do is to come to the realization that no matter how bad it is, you can always rewrite your story. That's the first thing you need to do. If you don't embrace that thought, because our decisions, determine our actions, and our decisions are rooted in our belief system. So if you don't believe that thought, that point of view, that perspective, you will not make the move. So believe that, oh, I've not been doing well before now, or things have gone south with my son, but I can rewrite it. That is one. Number two, you need to bury your ego. All right, because you as a parent, you determine the outcome, most of your child's life outcome. Children are like arrows, they are sharp, all right, they have skills, they can do and undo. You, the parents, you are the archer, you are the one that will launch that child into purpose. All right, you, the direction that your child will cover is determined by your own skillfulness. All right, so once you understand that, it will make you humble to learn. It will make you humble to acknowledge your mistake. And guess what? Call that child. What? Don't wait for the child to come to you. You go to the child. It's just like the
Yeah.
picture of God and us, human beings. Go to that child and acknowledge your mistake. You will be dazed. See,
Wow.
I don't know what to say. You'll be dazed that the child is looking out for you. Like I said, teenagers are relational beings. They are not animals, right? Go to that child and tell your child, see, I've messed up. I didn't do this right. I didn't do that. The child himself will be shocked that, whoa, what's going on here? Just tell the child that this is
Yes.
perfect. All right.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
be humble enough to acknowledge your mistakes and ask your child, what do you need me to do better? Listen, how have I hurt you? Let your child pour out those venoms, those things. Now, for some children, it will take time for them to, express themselves because they are not used to it. Give it
Yeah.
time. Push it, don't push it. Give it time. Create platforms for discussions, and you get the best. It's simple as this, as closing your eyes and opening it.
Something, Uncle, but we have heard this, from many of the speakers so far, the fact that perfection is not it. So if
Yeah,
you can be vulnerable before your children, it will do a
telling
lot
you.
in your relationship. All right, so we have another question here, and it says, how can I help it when my teenager, how can I help it when my teenage boy is always very reserved and doesn't want to discuss issues with me? He's always okay with what I say. He doesn't say anything. Everything is always okay for him.
There
Do
is
you think there's
problem.
a problem here?
Serious problem. Now, if you want to be true to yourself, now I get to hear this from parents, and I tell parents,
Yeah.
so your child is not talking to you, but your child is talking to me. So it means you
Oh,
didn't. There are some things that you didn't do right. Your child is not talking to you, but your child is talking to his friends. He's talking to his phone. He's with his phone all the time. So something is wrong. There's a disconnect. You probably have done something wrong, and you have betrayed the trust of your child. And trust
wow.
is gained. Probably he shared something with you and you used it against him. And since then, I'm not going to say anything again in this house. Whatsoever mommy wants, that is it. Whatsoever she does, she's right. I have teenagers who had that issue. So what do you need to do? You need to learn to keep quiet. That's the first thing you need to do. Your child is quiet. You to go quiet. It will shock you that your quietness will drive your child to start asking questions. Mommy, are you okay? Are you fine? Because he or she is used to you talking. Most children that go through this, their parents always do the talking. You pick on things that they do. They make mistake. You turn it to correcting class and all of that. Keep quiet. And daddy, stop trying to fix things. All right. Sometimes take them out on a wall. Take them, ask them, what would you like to do? Ask them, what do you want to do? Do you want to play football? Do you want to play basketball? Let them go and do that. All these things, while you are doing, they will see that it is strange. They will start asking questions. Mommy, what happened to you? Once your child gets to that level to ask you, Mommy, what happened to you? Then let him know that, see, son, I know you're dealing with a lot of things. You don't want to tell me about it because probably I've hurt your feelings. It still, boils down to vulnerability. All right. But you talk to me. I'm changed now. And I promise, sign deals with your children. I promise not to hurt you. I'm here to let them see it's like a guy toasting a babe. Toast them. This is what the results we get. Right? Just give them what they want. Life is transactional. Go on the
Life is
transaction
transactional.
and you'll get the results. But don't be comfortable that your child is just reserved. He's not talking to you. You lie. He's talking to
Yeah.
someone and you don't know what they're telling
Exactly.
you. And if you need further help, you can reach out to Uncle Okwe. This is what I do.
Exactly. Thank you very much. If you need further help, by all means, you can reach out to Uncle Ope. Uncle Ope, somebody said here that Uncle Ope understands the assignments. All right,
Yeah.
so we're going to take our very last question for the evening, so we can all go and rest and prepare for the grandma that we know will take on our screen tomorrow again. So the very last question, sir, is my 14-year-old likes listening to secular music, and I do encourage him to listen to gospel music because I feel it's more inspirational. Am I being judgmental?
All right. So approach is everything, right?
Yeah.
So you saying, what kind of song are you listening to? This song is bad. Man, you're just wasting your time because I have some boys that their parents, don't even encourage that at all. But these guys, they know the latest. In fact, as they are releasing the song, they will purchase it and do all of those things. What you need to do is engage them in conversation. Let them try to understand why they love secular music. All right.
Hmm.
Bring your own perspective of how that there are some songs that the content, the lyrics are not, value based. Let them understand the place of value system. Let them understand the place of, the fact that everything in life, the fact that life is natural does not mean it is ordinary. Life is spiritual. Music is a spirit. Words are spirit. So the words that you hear determines the atmosphere you create. The atmosphere you create
Hmm.
determines the ideas that come into your head. I have a teenager that started masturbating after listening to a particular song. So you want to encourage them to go look out for the lyrics of the song they are listening to. By doing all this, by putting all these structures into place, naturally, your child will stop listening to some things. And I just saying, yeah, listen to this, don't listen to this. They deceive yourself. They will do it. Like, they will do it, and you want to see what is wrong. But
Or even
come from
say
their
that they will go to hellfire. I have to just come and say
I'm
that.
telling you can go as far as downloading some of these lyrics and showing them that see a guy is singing about a girl opening her pants or doing this. Is this the kind of life you want to live?
Hmm.
They have brains, they can think. Just take that perspective. Simple. Simple.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Uncle Kwe. Uncle Kwe, I'm torn. There's one last question I don't know. I know I said it's the last question, and I know
Don't
we all
worry,
need
yeah.
to go. We need to
You
allow
can
you
even
rest.
give
But
it yourself. I'm here for
I'm
you.
sure this is very close to this person's heart because she's asking, please, how do I train a teen that I didn't teach, especially to help a foster child, something like that. Maybe a foster child, you didn't train the child, you didn't teach the child as an infant or as a toddler or as a child, and then all of a sudden you have a teenager and you have to train at this point.
So the first thing is you create an atmosphere of love. All right. You get to understand that person's love language. Do you understand? So, and I don't want to just limit it to the five love languages. There are other things. There are new research that has proved that there are other things that reaches out to people. All right. So you want to monitor that child. Okay, what is the password for every being? There is a password. Get the password of that child. Once you get the password of that child, for the child, maybe you spending time, you will just be humble that, oh, madam can spend time with me or talk to me. You can just create 1 hour, then engage her in conversation. Try to know where that child is coming from. So, what did you experience while growing up? Try to delve into the history of the child. The essence of going into history is for you to pick lessons and know what to adjust and where to come into play, what to do, the actions that you need to take. So go into the history of that child, engage that, do less talking and more of asking questions. So you ask questions. Why do you do this? Whenever that child makes mistake, don't there's a thin line between domestication and discipline. Don't spank. That child is not an animal. All right. People try to quote this scripture that says, "Spare the rod and
Yes.
it is in the same Bible in Deuteronomy 21 that says that if your son rebels against you, take that son to the elders and let them stone him to death. You did not see that one, no. All right. So just engage in conversation. And when you engage in conversation, you will actually know what to do. The issue is we react, we don't respond. That's actually the issue. So once you can take your time to monitor that child, engage in conversation, you will know what to do and where to come in. And like I will always say, you still need help. Okpe is there for you.
Thank you so much, Uncle Okpe. This is almost 2 hours well spent, and people have been here for 2 hours and they're not tired. I am not even tired. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate that you did this. Thank you. Welcome, ma'am, again.
Thank you so much, Uncle Ope, and thank you, Mary Beth. By the way, Mary Beth is a parent coach, a renowned one, who teaches you how to walk your children through purpose. Trust me, if I recommend somebody, of course, you know that I am talking sense. I haven't brought anybody to you in this conference that have come to just talk rubbish, Abby. So if I say something about somebody, you should believe me by now. All right. And thank you so much, Mary Beth, for moderating this session. Thank you to my team members for all they do. Thank you, Uncle Ope, for doing this. I won't want to say some things here. I will say it in the inner circle. When Uncle Ope meets us there, we will come and discuss the rest of it in the inner circle. If you are jealous, don't worry, just join us. Don't be too jealous, all right? Join us in the inner circle. Thank you, Uncle Ope. It was a 2 hour, it was a masterclass. All right. In fact, parents in the inner circle are already raving over all of this. If you want to, I've also shared Uncle Ope's handle on our Telegram channel. Please get into the Telegram channel, follow him on his Instagram handle. I want to say this again. Nobody paid for this does not mean that this conference is free. This conference was actually paid for. It's just that you didn't have to part with money, but people paid for it. People like Uncle Ope, who is sitting here, that has been sitting here for 2 hours. Yeah. Sometimes your parents reach out to me and I say, for you to talk to me for 1 hour, you need to pay 30,000 to 50,000. They're looking at me like, whoa, coach, what are you talking about? Oh, yes, because my time is important to me. So is Uncle Ope. I don't want to tell you how much he charges to actually speak for 1 hour. Let's not go there. His charge is in dollars. Maybe we'll gather money and pay him when we're done. But you know what? Like I often say, people are paying the price. Together, the Intentional Parent Academy have paid the price. You don't even want to know the number of my team members that haven't slept in days. Now, what you can do is that you take action. You need to take action, and you need to also appreciate God that you are getting this value the way you are getting them today. What should you also do? You should share this conference with someone so that we can actually set up another system. Can you see how passionate Uncle Ope shared these things with? His passion was streaming through the I was so good to type. How did you learn to tell a story like that? His storytelling skills was just, it blew me away when he started. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been here from the beginning of today till now. But like I said, if you do not take action, nothing changes. You can hear all of this and nothing will happen. Trust me, we've been running conferences for years. This is our fourth. And the parents in the inner circle will tell you, if you're not ready to implement, don't bother. Don't bother listening to this thing because they won't make sense to you. Buy books, buy coaching programs. Access isn't free. There is a
network.
Okay, looks like Coach Wendy is frozen there. All right, so basically she was trying to say at some point you will have to make some commitment. Okay, sometimes in these sessions you don't get everything and you have to commit to get more and then for you to be guided through this journey or your hands to be held through this journey. So thank you very much, Uncle Ope. Again, let's allow you go. Let's allow you go at this point. It's been an amazing 2 hours. Thank you for everyone who made time to be here. Go ahead and rave about the TIP Conference 2021. Please follow Uncle Ope and then reach out to him if you have more questions or if you would like to work with him. It's been an amazing 2 days. We hope to see you tomorrow again. Have a lovely, lovely evening. Thank you, Uncle Faye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. You can catch the replay. Please share this video. Share the link to this video with your friends and family. Everyone should see this because this is knowledge packed back to back. Have a lovely evening, everyone. Bye. All right, we'll take another review from Inner Circle. Okay, the coach is here.
Sorry about that, the internet threw me out. But hey, thank you. I think enough has been said already. If you want to reach out to Uncle Ope, please reach out to him. You will see his Instagram handle on our Telegram channel. But if you are in the inner circle, don't worry. You're going to see Uncle Ope over and again. So chill. It's not a problem. Eh? You know that. You know that coach got you, right? Yep. You trust me. Thank you so much as we wind down. Do have a good evening until we see tomorrow again at 4 p.m. where we're going to be having amazing coaches come live again to come. And in fact, the coaches that are coming tomorrow, Faith Osiri was here last year. When Faith Osiri was done teaching, parents were weeping. I can't forget. And Faith Osiri is back here this year. And we're also having someone speaking specifically on special needs, Lola and Eke. And then we're also having Coach Eden Onka from the US. If you've ever listened to Eden, you don't want to. Eden will bring fire into the system for you. So if you have enjoyed this session, please follow our speakers. Uncle Obe has programs that he has offered 50% off from us. If you want to, just put the TIP code and you will be able to get access to that program. Please don't forget that you need to do something for this to actually really do happen. Thank you and see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Hello everyone, my name is Onyinye Stephen Go and I'm a parent in the TIP Inner Circle, also known as a YADA. And it has been an awesome journey. I used to be a yeller, I used to be a flogger, I was always stressed out and overwhelmed. And I knew that there had to be a better way. That was the point in my life where I met Coach Wendy and I joined the Inner Circle. And I can tell you it has been an amazing journey. In the Inner Circle, we're taught how to parent with calm, we're held by the hand, we're taught strategies that we can use, and things are just a whole lot better. Now, life is easier for me, my children are happier for it, and wow, we're all well and good. So truthfully, the Inner Circle is one of the best things that has happened to my life, and I am grateful. Thank you.